Pokémon Yellow was released on October 18th, 1999 in North America, and like everything over the age of 25, it's crusty old. This game is way too easy, way too unbalanced, kinda ugly, and is held together by duct tape and a dream to become the very best like no one ever was. But what if that was all fixed? What if there was a version of Pokémon Yellow that had better enemy teams, more diverse encounters, extensive quality of life improvements, and a metric ton of bug fixes, while still looking kinda ugly? Well, let me introduce you to Pokémon Yellow Legacy. Developed by the Smith Plays and his talented team, Yellow Legacy aims to provide the perfect Generation 1 Pokémon experience. I'll see about that, because I'll be attempting a Nuzlocke challenge of Yellow Legacy, where if a Pokémon faints, they are considered dead forever, and I can only catch the first Pokémon encountered in each area. I'll also be playing on the game's built-in hard mode, which prevents the use of items in battle, forces set mode, and implements level caps according to the next gym leader's strongest Pokémon. With all that out of the way, we can begin our journey in Generation 1 Kanto. Now, in case you didn't know, Pokémon Yellow only gives us one choice of starter: a fat yellow rat, a short, ungrateful little rodent who scorns any affection we show for it unless we satiate its unyielding gluttony. Nevertheless, he is our minion, bound to serve us regardless of personal sentiment. He proves his allegiance immediately against our rival, who is dumb, by taking down the enemy Eevee with a couple of well-timed critical hits. In Gen 1, crits are determined by a Pokemon's speed stat, so expect to see a lot of crits flying around in this run. Speaking of early generation Pokemon oddities, we gotta talk about eugenics. If you've gotten into the nitty-gritty of raising Pokemon, you're probably familiar with IVs and EVs. For those unfamiliar, IVs are like a Pokemon's genes, determined at birth and affecting their max potential in a given stat. Meanwhile, EVs are accumulated through defeating Pokemon in battle and are the reason why a trained Pokemon is stronger than a wild Pokemon of the same level. Now throw that knowledge out the window because things work differently in Gen 1, but not all the way out the window because it's still pretty similar to how it works in later games. Instead of IVs, which range from 0 to 31 for each stat, there are DVs, which range from 0 to 15 for each stat, 0 being bad, 15 being best, obviously. Other than some funky back-end calculations, DVs serve basically the same purpose as IVs in determining a Pokemon's potential at birth. Meanwhile, EVs work much differently. Let's say Minion here knocks out a Pidgey, the Pidgey I wanted to catch as our first encounter until it got clobbered by a critical hit. Thanks, Minion. The base stats of that Pidgey will then be added to Minion's EV totals, making him stronger. Unlike later generations, you can max out your EVs in each stat, which means at the end of the day, the only hard limiter of a Pokemon's growth in this game is their DVs. Now let's check Minion's DVs. While coping with our starter's abysmal genetics, I swing by the Viridian Pokemart, deliver Professor Oak's DoorDash order, and yada yada yada. I know you just want to see the encounter, so let's skip to that. Fortunately, one of the biggest improvements in Yellow Legacy is the more diverse selection of Pokemon available in every area. We may have missed Pidgey on Route 1, but that's made up for by the addition of Nijika, the female Nidoran, on Route 22, and Mami the Vulpix on Route 2. The old rod can also now be obtained in the Viridian Pokemart, allowing us to fish up Oscar the Goldeen back at Pallet Town. Finally, I rectified Minion's earlier blunder by snagging a Pidgey in Viridian Forest that I named Woodstock. Now this is a well-balanced squad. They'll be able to handle another significant Yellow Legacy change: improved enemy teams. For example, the trainer at the end of Viridian Forest now packs a fearsome pincer, but since we have Mami the Vulpix, she just gives the beetle a disgusted glare before torching it to smithereens. The path is now clear for us to enter Pewter City, where we can visit the museum and look at a replica of Space Shuttle Columbia. This implies the Pokemon world will eventually witness the Columbia disaster. Time to take on the first gym. Unfortunately, all but one of our team members struggled to dent Brock's rock types, so Oscar the Goldeen will need to shoulder the burden of this fight. He kicks off the battle by failing to one-hit KO Geodude with a quad-effective bubble. Fortunately, Geodude misses rock throw, allowing Oscar to failed a KO once again. Geodude retaliates with Tackle, which Oscar can shrug off as he finally takes down his foe the following turn. In comes Brock's signature Onix. In Yellow Legacy, the Stony Stake has received a massive buff to its base stats, making it a legitimate threat now. That's why Onix can outspeed Oscar and use Bide, enduring a strong hit from Bubble that will soon become a ticking time bomb of reflected damage. In Generation 1, Bide's enduring period will last either 2 turns or 3 turns, chosen at random. Since Onyx outsped us and tanked a hit already, this means if Oscar were to use Bubble next turn and fail to KO, Onyx could potentially unleash Bide the turn after that, guaranteeing death to our fish. I think. If I'm wrong, please call me names in the comments. That's why I instead make Oscar use Supersonic to potentially negate the big incoming hit with Confusion, but Oscar continues to prove his unreliability by missing the attack. I'm starting to panic now, so in my desperation, I tossed out Woodstock. He'll be fine since Bide doesn't have enough damage to kill right now, and Onyx doesn't have a rock type move. Since none of his damaging moves will do much of anything, Woodstock instead opts to just kick some sand into Onyx's eyes before it unleashes Bide.
Miss!
And misses! The pocket sand strategy worked! Woodstock tags out for Oscar, who gets in for free because Onyx misses again, this time with Constrict. This battle should be a wrap now, but the error-persistent Onyx thinks otherwise. It lands a bind, which in Gen 1 completely prevents the target from acting while dealing damage every turn. As a result, we have to wait an additional 3 turns for Oscar to escape from bind before he can finally put an end to a fight that should have been over a while ago. I sure hope these inconsistent end-of-fight closeouts don't become a regular occurrence. Fun fact, there is a Jigglypuff that sings in the Pewter City Pokemon Center and makes Minion fall asleep. This is my chance to abandon this useless little rat. Smell you later. Aw, dang it. That was a cute little detail. Unfortunately, the first generation of Pokemon has a lot more unpleasant oddities than pleasant ones, in my opinion. For one, every move in this game either sounds like a flashbang or looks like one. Take Leer, for example, which despite suffering temporary blindness, I still managed to snag Tweety the Spearow on Route 3 and trigger the Zubat at Mount Moon, completing our trifecta of early game flying types. Speaking of Mount Moon, this place is hell. It's got a poop-colored palette, droning background music, and there's also a few wild encounters. Sorry, did I say a few wild encounters? I meant a ton of wild encounters. Fortunately, all that juicy EXP is enough for Nichika to evolve into Nidorina, just in time for a surprise appearance. It's Jessie and James from the Pokemon anime. Well, they're never explicitly named, but if it looks like Jessie and James and speaks like Jessie and James, then I'm pretty sure it's Jessie and James. Unfortunately, I'll be taking on the bumbling rocket duo with one hand tied behind my back, because Minion and Nijika are entering this fight at half health each. Not good. Our fish fires off a water gun, taking a decent chunk out of Ekans' HP. He then manages to dodge the poison chance from Poison Sting before hitting back with a critical hit bubble that drops Ekans into the red. Another Poison Sting is manageable as Oscar finishes off his foe the following turn. Next up is Meowth, a speedy kitty with hard-hitting stab normal type moves that our team isn't well equipped to handle, as evidenced by Woodstock tagging in and losing half his health to 3 furious swipes. He has to grit his teeth and take a scratch as well, narrowly hanging on with just 8 HP remaining before he can kick up some sand. Wait, do birds have teeth? We'll see if Tweety can answer that, though his bite will be as sharp after Meowth's growl drops his attack by one stage. Nevertheless, Tweety can survive bite from the cat, then barrage Meowth with a succession of his own fury attacks. 5 of them to be precise, with one of them being a crit. That's enough to take down Meowth, setting the stage for a much less stressful resolution to this fight. Despite being at half health, Nijika can sit on coughing and wear it down with some consecutive bites. We entered this battle in a precarious position, but every one of our party members escaped with the scars to show for it. Except Mommy, all she did was glare at Jessie and James the entire time. And Minion, man, this guy hasn't done anything. I propose we kill him. If you're against killing him, then like the video and comment and subscribe and maybe buy a membership. With your support, Minion can live another day. What do you mean you'd rather just let him die? We arrive in Cerulean City, where we could potentially pick up a free Bulbasaur. Unfortunately, I can only get this Bulbasaur if Minion's friendship is high enough, and for some reason he doesn't seem to like me very much. I have no clue why. Speaking of people who don't like me very much, my rival, Dumb. He leads off this battle with some flying type fodder that Minion snipes out of the sky. Then Rattata fails to land a single damaging move as our yellow rat claims a second kill. After hitting Bellsprout with a Thunder Wave for good measure, Minion can bow out of his best fight so far, for his fellow did not participate in the Jessie and James fight teammate, Mommy. She does get poisoned on the way in, but Mommy can roast Bellsprout alive, then eat a quick attack before hitting Eevee with Confuse Ray. I switch into Nijika next, hoping to double kick this weird looking dog in the next year, but after tanking Quick Attack and Bite, all Nijika can muster is half a health bar of damage. Eevee snaps out of confusion the following turn, which didn't really matter because it never hit itself in confusion, and chooses to use a not very effective double kick. Alright, cool. That gives Nijika a free opportunity to convert a double kick into a failed KO secure. Alright, cool. I don't really feel like switching out here, so just take this final hit, Nijika, and you'll be home free. Thank you. And with that, our rival has been packed up and put away for the second time. Yep. Second time, because I actually skipped the optional rival battle on Route 22. Beating our rival at the lab in Route 22 causes him to evolve his Eevee into Jolteon later on and assemble a pretty gnarly team. But by beating our rival at the lab and skipping the Route 22 fight, he will instead evolve his Eevee into Flareon and assemble a much less scary team later down the line. As for us, we still need to build the foundation of our own squad. I don't trust Minion to single-handedly take on Misty, so I swing by Route 24 to... How did that trainer see me? He was off screen and his back was turned. Speaking of backs, meet Wario the Bellsprout, who I caught on Route 24. He received his nickname because his back sprite is comically massive. Look at that big head. I also received a free Charmander on Route 24, which is technically illegal because Wario was my encounter for this route, but it's fine because, spoiler, Chuck the Charmander will be stuffed into the PC and will never again see the light of day. Moving further east to Route 25, we save Bill from a lifetime of cosplaying as Kabuto and are rewarded with a ticket to the SS Anne. Minion expresses his emotion by screaming into his $10 headset. Then there's my Route 25 encounter, which ends up being Abra. Alakazam is a nasty Pokemon, especially in the Psychic Dominant Gen 1 games, so snagging an Abra will be splendid. But this thing is primed to teleport away, so I only got one shot to catch it. One Pokeball at full HP. Let's make it count. Boom! I want that motherfucker! In addition to that great catch, I evolved Tweety into Fearow and Wario into Weepinbell, providing us some much needed firepower for our fight against that girl whose bike got destroyed by Ash. Wario leads off, whipping Psyduck with some vines for a considerable chunk of damage. Psyduck lands a super effective confusion, but it just tickles Wario as he secures the KO the following turn. In comes the equally hapless Goldeen, who also gets downed by 2 vine whips. However, even with over half his HP remaining, there's no way Wario can outspeed or tank a hit from Misty's signature Starmie. So I switch to Minion, who unfortunately gets crit by Starmie's confusion, dropping him to exactly half health. Minion should be able to live one more attack, barring a crit. It is risky to stay in, especially with Starmie's speed granting it a high crit rate, but we need to get some substantial damage onto the C-Star. I've been pretty mean to you, Minion, but how about we bury the hatchet here? If I apologize to you here, will you clutch it out? With just 5 HP remaining, Minion hangs on and strikes back with Thunder Punch, taking Starmie's HP to half. Thank you, Minion. And sorry for being so mean to you. I love you, Minion. More. My plan from here was to send out Oscar and try for a confusion via Supersonic. If he died, it would have been no skin off my back. But not only does Oscar survive confusion and Swift with a sliver of health, he lands the 55% accurate Supersonic. I can't get rid of him after an effort like that, so instead I switched to Tweety. A bad call because Starmie not only shrugs off its confusion to land a confusion, but manages to confuse Tweety as well as me proofreading this sentence. Instead of a hard-hitting Bubble Beam or confusion though, Starmie opts for a much softer Swift the next turn. And unwilling to fold so easily, Tweety briefly ignores his confusion to land 3 Fury attacks, though he just misses out on the decisive KO. Not willing to risk a confusion self-hit that would put Tweety's life in danger, I switch to my other early game normal flying type. Woodstock gets lucky and only has to tag a Swift on the way in before nailing Starmie with one last quick attack to finally end this battle. That marks 2 gym badges earned and 2 gym fights where our cleanup was messier than anticipated. Hopefully our team will lock in and prevent any future end of fight mishaps from happening. On the topic of misplays, I could have evolved Charlie into Kadabra and had him ready for that last gym battle, but I mistakenly thought that Abra evolves at level 24. But the past is the past, and we should let bygones be bygones. Just look at Minion and I. 14 short minutes ago, we couldn't stand each each other. Now, we're besties. We know each other's favorite colors, favorite foods, and more importantly, I can give Minion the highest possible honor right now. He's gonna be the guy I send out to soften up our encounters for capture. It ain't a pretty job, but it's an honest and important one, like being a garbage man. Getting encounters is kinda like sifting through garbage, now that I think about it, because for every worthless Rattata, there's a Magnemite, and for every trash Lickitung I get, I can also scoop up a Diglett. Unfortunately, Diglett is way less valuable against Lieutenant Surge in Yellow Legacy, because his Raichu knows Surf. Don't worry though, Navia, you can take on a different role for the team, being our cut user. It ain't a pretty job, but it's an honest and important one, like being a small yellow rat. But why get a job when a dude on the SSN is handing out 500 Pokédollars for free? Another way to earn free money would be beating up my rival, so let's do that again, shall we? He leads off with Raticate, who nails Nijika with a soft quick attack. She retaliates with double kick to drop the rat fairly low, but it lands a Hyper Fang that causes Nijika to flinch the following turn. She then has to take one more quick attack before finally knocking out Raticate, putting Nijika in a precarious position despite holding the type advantage against the incoming Weepinbell. I switch to Woodstock while Weepinbell opts to use Growth. On the following turn, Woodstock gets poisoned before landing a wing attack that barely misses out on the kill. Fortunately, quick attack remedies that. Sandshrew is up next and doesn't have the damage to immediately threaten Woodstock, which is why I keep the bird out there a little while longer to hit one more wing attack for chip damage. After that, I bring in Wario on a negligible Fury attack and one Vine Whip seals Sandshrew's fate. That invites in our rival's final Pokemon, which Wario puts on a timer by poisoning before eating a gnarly hit that signals for us to switch again. That means it's Minion's turn to clean up. He easily switches in on Double Kick, then Thunder Punches Eevee to take it down to a third of its remaining health. However, the small brown dog's headbutt also badly injures our small yellow rat, bringing him to a quarter of his remaining health. Still, Minion should have this one in the bag. Land one last Thunder Punch and we can... Oh no. Minion guts it out with 2 HP remaining, allowing the poison damage to finish off Eevee and win us the fight. As long as Minion is with us, anything is possible. And as long as Minion is with us, we're never gonna end a fight comfortably, huh? Thanks for the cut, HM, you old geezer. Now we can go take on the Vermilion Gym. Nothing screams electric type specialist and former military officer quite like digging through trash bins. This is the only gym puzzle in Yellow Legacy that received improvements, which says a lot. On the topic of Yellow Legacy improvements, Stone Evolution Pokemon now get level up moves even after evolving, meaning there's no reason for me to delay Nichika's evolution into Nidoqueen any longer. She'll be necessary in solving the Lieutenant Surge equation. Surge only has a single Raichu, but it's 5 levels over the cap and faster than our entire team. Plus, remember what I mentioned earlier? It has Surf, which means ground types are not safe against it. That's why Navia the Diglett won't be leading off against this heinous yellow creature. Neither will Wario the Weepinbell, because despite resisting Thunderbolt and Surf, he can't do much of anything. Everyone else on the team will get rocked by one of Raichu's hard-hitting moves, but one of these guys will have to just grit their teeth and take one for the team. That will be Nijika, who has the bulk now after evolving to survive at least one hit as long as she doesn't get crit by Surf. Never mind. Raichu uses Body Slam instead, which doesn't even paralyze as Nijika digs down into the ground. Raichu seems to realize its mistake and attempts to surf, but hits air as Nijika emerges from the ground and brings Raichu to its knees. That puts it in prime position for Minion to clean up. Our small yellow rat switches into surf, drops to exactly half HP, and quick attacks the larger yellow rat to secure us the win. You right, little rat. I gotta swing by Cerulean again, so I take the opportunity to pick up the bicycle. And since Minion and I are tight now, also finally grabbed that Bulbasaur I mentioned earlier. Its DBs are amazing, but I won't be using it because I've already invested time and EXP into Wario, my grass poison type of choice. The only way Bulbasaur would ever see use is if Wario died, and that won't happen because Wario is canonically invincible. At Rock Tunnel, I catch a Cubone. A bit disappointing since I still don't have a rock type that can serve as a reliable switch into normal type moves, but getting Cubone here guarantees me a Ghastly later at the Pokemon Tower, and I freaking love Gengar. Yeah, I know, I got basic taste, sue me. As for Rock Tunnel itself, it's actually not that bad. Sure, it's so pitch dark that you can't see any trainers or even your own 2 feet, but you can see the walls, allowing for a fairly easy traversal if you know the layout or have Google. Plus, while I don't have Flash, I do have someone on my team that's poisoned. The otherwise very annoying overworld screen flash from poison damage can actually serve as a sort of makeshift flash. You just gotta remember to actually cure your poison Pokemon status later. Unfortunately, I did not pack an antidote, and I couldn't run to the Pokemon Center in time, causing Woodstock to succumb to its condition and perish. Sorry buddy, my B. May you continue to kick sand into the eyes of onyxes in the afterlife. It is somewhat fitting that our first death in this run happened just outside Lavender Town. What's not fitting is that a completely different, comically jarring music track plays when you enter the Name Raider's house. You know what else is jarring? This transition to Celadon City. I didn't know how else to write this part of the script. Anyway, we got a lot to do in the big green city. First, we can scale the condominium and receive a free Eevee that I named Jake. Then, we can say our daily affirmations using the sign outside. After that, we can swing by the department store and purchase a couple of elemental stones to evolve Wario into Victory Bell and Mommy into Ninetales. It's Rocket Hideout raid time. Honestly though, this place is nauseating. Not because of the spinning floor tiles, but due to how the camera movement works in Gen 1 games. The subtle screen shake combined with a checker-floored pattern makes for a dizzying sight. This and the move animations are proof that Gen 1 was designed in a lab to make you vomit. Man, my eyes hurt. I need to go grab some eye drops or something. Charlie, can you handle Jesse and James for me? Thanks. Oh, that was fast. Now we can face Giovanni, whose lead Onyx gets torn apart by Wario's Razor Leaf, setting the stage for a Big Mama Kangaskhan. I switched to Nijika, who tanks a Mega Punch pretty well, however Kanga moves first and its second Mega Punch crits to take Nijika down into the red. She's unable to KO Kanga with double kick, meaning Nijika's gotta get out of here now. I bring in Tweety, who only has to take a submission on the way in, and he responds to the hit by critically striking with Drill Peck, downing Kangaskhan once and for all. On to Marowak. Tweety can stay in and land another crit with Drill Peck, then shrug off a headbutt before sending Marowak straight to the Pokemon Tower. That just leaves Giovanni's Persian, whose high speed bestows it an equally high chance to crit. This thing also has some good coverage and a strong stab takedown, so neutering this kitty will take some work. I decide to switch to our cleanup specialist Minion, who could potentially tank a hit and then retaliate with some paralysis. Oh no, Minion! Ugh. Why did I think that Minion could tank that? His sacrifice does give Wario a free opportunity to take the field, and he manages to finish the job with a pair of Razor Leaves. But the damage has already been done. The mascot of Yellow Legacy is dead, and all we can do now is honor the legacy he's left behind. Everyone please take a moment of silence for our fallen companion. Okay, that's enough. Now let's go add a good electric type to our team by evolving Jake into Jolteon. Here's to a new age of superior electric dominance. For now though, it's time to bear witness to the Fire Age, because we're rolling into the Erica fight with a particularly pissed off Mommy. Her flamethrower melts through Tangela, Victory Bell, and Ivysaur, with the only hit taken being a soft Razor Leaf from Victory Bell. Mommy also nearly incinerates Vileplume with a single flamethrower, but misses out on the kill narrowly and gets put to sleep. Nevertheless, that was a fantastic effort by her, and she can now rest easy knowing Tweety can switch in and also get put to sleep. That's not good. I switch to Charlie next, crossing my fingers that Vileplume doesn't click Sleep Powder again, and fortunately it doesn't, which means Charlie can end this battle with a powerful, super effective Side Beam. How did Psybeam miss? It has 100% accuracy. Allow a cooler head to explain. In the Generation 1 Pokemon games, the accuracy of a move is stored as a 1-byte integer value, which I'll henceforth refer to in this example as A. The value of an integer can range anywhere from 0 to 255, 255 equaling to a 100% accurate move in this case. When checking for a move's accuracy in battle, the game will generate a new random integer that I'll call R, which will be compared against the move accuracy integer A. If R is less than A, the move hits. Otherwise, if R is greater than or equal to A, the move misses. And it is that little equal to part that ruins everything. Because even though A equals 255 should equate to a 100% accurate move, if R equals 255 as well, then the calculations will say that the move will miss anyway. This is known as the 1 in 256 miss glitch. It is only present in the Generation 1 games and the Japanese version of Pokemon Stadium. And it's the reason why a 100% accurate move like Psybeam still has a fucking chance to miss. Oh, pardon my language. beam. Yellow Legacy actually patched out this bug, but only in normal mode. It's still present in hard mode, which explains why I am currently losing my mind. Alright, back to your regularly scheduled molding. Can we ever have a major fight end smoothly this run? Charlie's miss opens the door for Vileplume to tuck yet another party member of ours into bed. Therefore, I switch again, this time to Nijika, who thankfully only gets paralyzed instead. Vileplume charges up a potentially devastating solar beam, but Nijika shrugs off paralysis to vomit sludge onto Vileplume and finally secure the win. Even with minion gone, his legacy of absolute chaos at the end of battles still lives on. It's like I can still feel his presence on my shoulder. On a totally unrelated note, let's visit Lavender Tower. Our rival is here, so you know what that means. Jake, our newer, flashier electric type, will lead off against our rival's Furo, which he can obliterate with a single Thunderbolt. Oh my god, why is every attack in this game a seizure? Anyway, Magnemite is up next, and since the Seal type doesn't exist yet in Gen 1, Jake can stay in and down his foe with repeated headbutts. That opens the door for Kadabra, and in turn, Mami, who loses about a third of her HP switching into the move that I refuse to name. Since the special attack and special defense stats exist as one singular special stat in Gen 1, Mami actually has the bulk and firepower to stay in on Kadabra, which she proves by hitting a flamethrower and inflicting a burn, while eating Kadabra's side beam with remarkable poise. She then wipes her hands clean of the yellow critter the following turn. Shellder is up to bat, but so is Wario, who shrugs off a soft Aurora beam before launching Razor Leaf. Due to Victory Bell's good base speed and Razor Leaf's high critical hit rate, Wario is basically always guaranteed to crit with this move, as demonstrated by how easily he rips apart Shellder. That just leaves our rival's Flareon, whom Nijika can toy with before one-shotting with Dig. Finally, an end-of-fight scenario where it doesn't feel like I'm on the brink of disaster. Maybe this team of goofballs can finally turn the corner and become truly reliable, although I still feel like I have something weighing down on my shoulders, scorning my every move and potentially cursing me and my team to even greater misfortune. Ooh, a purification square. Wow, it's like the weight on my shoulders has completely vanished. Maybe because the rest of the Pokemon Tower is a stress-free affair. Firstly, Charlie one-taps any Ghastly or Haunter who dares show its face. Secondly, Wario can exercise a Marowak Ghost with a single Razor Leaf. Thirdly, I add Closer the Ghastly to the team, who will hopefully be a consistent end-of-fight reliever for our squad. Finally, the fight against Jesse and James atop the tower is easily handled by Nijika, who destroys Meowth, Arbok, Lickitung, and Weezing all by herself. We have officially saved Mr. Fuji. Well, he says that he wanted to be up here in the first place, only further reinforcing the incompetence of J&J over here. Either way, that's a free Pokeflute, giving us the opportunity to wake up the Snorlax blocking the road on Route 16. This beast of a Pokemon is especially awesome in Gen 1 with the overall excellence of the normal type. Adding such a monstrous threat to our team won't be easy. Or so I thought, because I ended up catching the big fella after just 2 Great Balls. Welcome to the team, Pac-Man. Now at this point in the game, I can either fight Sabrina or Koga for my 5th gym badge. I ultimately went with Koga since I'll need to clear out Silphco before fighting Sabrina, and I'm trying to delay that inevitability as long as possible. Instead, I make my way to Fuchsia City, catching a Doduo named Chuck while I go down Cycling Road. Our Charmander actually already has the same nickname, but I forgot he existed. Honestly, I was somewhat on autopilot at this point. I cut out most generic trainer fights from the final video, but I think it should be known that there's a lot of poison types in Kanto, and Charlie annihilates every single one of them, plus all the fighting types, and honestly anything else with low special too, since Psychic is such a good offensive type. And Charlie's high speed grants him a high crit chance as well. Case in point, the entire Fuchsia City gym. There's a cute little cameo here from Janine, the future gym leader in the Gen 2 games, and you can even battle her in Yellow Legacy, but she and all the other trainers are merely fodder for Charlie's spoon-bending shenanigans. And thanks to Yellow Legacy changing trade evolutions into level up evolutions, Charlie can evolve into Alakazam at level 42, just in time to solo Koga's entire team. Golbat, Muck, and Venomoth all get dropped by a single Psychic each, and even though Tentacruel survives one hit and responds with a critical hit Surf, it cannot survive a second Psychic that punctuates the easiest gym battle of the entire run so far. Fun fact, the Toxic TM is over 400 years old, just like your mother. As a self-proclaimed hater of catching a Pokemon, the Safari Zone is the last place I want to spend time in. Unfortunately, this area is mandatory in Kanto because the Surf HM is tucked tucked away at the very end, which means I gotta suck it up and go safarying. But my opinion on this place only got worse because not only did my encounter for this area run away, I went to the wrong house and ran out of steps before acquiring the Surf HM, forcing me to enter the Safari Zone a second time to actually get what I came here for in the first place. If I was the mayor of Fuchsia City, I'd bulldoze the entire Safari Zone and replace it with something of actual purpose, value, and need to society, like a dropshipping warehouse. As badly as I wanted to just sprint to Saffron City, I instead chose to comb through the surrounding routes for EXP and items. A very wise decision on my part, because on the second floor of the Fuchsia Route 15 gate is one of Professor Oak's assistants who gives us a brand new Yellow Legacy item, the EXP All, allowing everyone in the party to earn EXP during battle. The game is balanced with or without this item, but it's a nice quality of life improvement to have. All that EXP also allows us to evolve Closer into Haunter, and then Gengar, whose ghost typing received a lot of love in Yellow Legacy. For starters, there was a bug in the original Gen 1 games that made Psychic super effective against Ghost, instead of the other way around like intended. That's been fixed in Yellow Legacy. The move Nightshade has been changed to a regular 60 base power move, ditching its old effect of dealing damage based on level. Finally, all ghost type moves in Gen 1 were considered physical for some reason, but that's been changed as well in Yellow Legacy. They're all special now. Closer already invalidates nearly every normal and fighting type Pokemon unfortunate enough to face her, so actually being able to use her special attack for ghost type moves is a huge buff that will hopefully serve us well when we fight Sabrina. But before that, we gotta go through Silph. In practice, it's not that bad since the game has to account for the possibility of the player coming here right after beating Erica, so the rocket grunts are pitifully underleveled compared to us, and remember, Charlie eats rockets for breakfast. Plus, I have the location of the door key burned deep within my memory, making overall traversal of Silph fairly simple. I could have dedicated this space in my brain to a useful life skill, but no, it's instead occupied by useless information such as this, and the optimal time to promote units in every Fire Emblem game. All that being said, Silph is still buns. You've got the same nauseating checkered floor as the rocket hideout, and in Gen 1, there's no little indicator in the corner of what floor of the building you're on. Hope you have a lot of space in that head of yours to memorize floor layouts. Also, I have to bring attention to the fact that there are beds scattered everywhere in the office, and there's also an on-site nurse. Forget the Team Rocket invasion, these work conditions make it seem like Silph's employees were already fighting for their lives on the regular. Amid this chaos and panic, however, is our rival who has shown up to an active hostile takeover situation for the sole purpose of beating us up. He's such an asshole. It's awesome. Nijika opens this battle by critting with Earthquake to eviscerate Electabuzz in a single hit. Cloyster comes out next and immediately puts us in a risky situation. If I keep Nijika in, she can't guarantee a one-hit KO and could potentially get washed away by Surf, frozen by Ice Beam, or exploded upon by self-destruct. If I switch to Wario, he could potentially one-shot Cloyster with Razor Leaf, but could also switch directly into an Ice Beam or self-destruct before that. I could also bring in Pac-Man instead, since he should have the bulk to tank. Oh, too late, I ended up picking Wario, who switches directly into... a big boom, but he hangs on with single digits of HP remaining. However, Dodrio enters the fray next, which means Wario's got to go and Jake's got to mosey on in. Jake hasn't participated in any major battles since joining the team, but he has seen extensive use vanquishing the various water and flying type Pokemon we've bumped into along the way. So he is a valuable member of this team that gets crit by Tri-Attack on the switch-in and hits the floor dead. That is awful. It does give Charlie a free opportunity to hit the field, however, and one Psychic is enough to kill the three-headed Freakazoid. Our rival brings in his own Alakazam, whose Tri-Attack does little more than tickle the rotund belly of the beast himself, Pac-Man. Our resident Goober can also tank a second Tri-Attack before flattening Alakazam with a Body Slam crit. Only Flareon remains, and while Flamethrower does a sizable chunk of damage, Pac-Man crits with Body Slam a second time to annihilate Flareon and end this battle in our favor. We did stuff for a pretty significant loss, but I have a lot more faith in this team now, so we'll manage. Plus, we got the opportunity to add our first Ice type to the team, thanks to this random Silph employee giving us a free Lapras. Say hello to the man in the yellow hat, or TMITYH for short. Or I guess in this case it could stand for the Mon in the yellow hat. Whatever the case, welcome to the team, buddy. Let me just check your DVs real quick. I think I know why that guy gave you away for free. At the top floor of the Silphco building is Jesse and James, ready to impede our progress yet again, and true to their anime counterparts, they've become far less threatening with each consecutive time they've appeared. In what would be their final showing in this playthrough, Jesse and James laid a big fat goose egg, as Closer effortlessly slapped aside Wheezing, Lickitung, Arbok, and Meowth before letting Charlie mop up the remains of Victory Belt for a stress-free dub. The more intimidating threat lies beyond the locked door, in the form of our old friend Giovanni. Minion met his demise the last time we faced this guy, so I think it's high time we get our revenge. Wario begins our crusade of vengeance by missing Razor Leaf. Thankfully, Kingler just goes for Harden, giving Wario the chance to rectify his mistake. Hopefully that's just a one-time slip-up by our otherwise reliable crit machine. Big Kanga hits the field next, and so does Big Nijika, who survives Body Slam and refuses to get paralyzed. She then unleashes an Earthquake that takes Kanga to half, but Kanga hits back with a Body Slam crit to bring Nijika dangerously low. Fortunately, she gets the jump on Kangaskhan and beats it like a drum, finishing it off with a critical hit of her own. Nijika is too low to stay in on Giovanni's Machoke, so it's up to Charlie to settle the score. He comes in for free because Machoke goes for Dig, so Charlie can set up a Reflect that ensures incoming physical attacks bounce off of him, like that Dig from Machoke. Charlie can then click Psychic and wash his hands clean of the muscular Mon. That invites in Golem, which gives us a choice. The Mon in the yellow hat could come in and one-tap Golem with Surf, but could also potentially eat a super effective Rock Slide on the way in. Alternatively, Wario could take the field and accomplish the same job without the threat of a super effective hit. I ultimately decide to go with the latter, and sure enough, Golem goes for Rock Slide, which Wario can withstand thanks in no small part to Charlie's still active Reflect. All Wario has to do now is click Razor Leaf again and I can't believe a 95% accurate move missed twice in a single battle. But this fight isn't over yet because Giovanni's Persian still stands. This dastardly cat connects with Thunderbolt, not only getting a critical hit, but paralyzing Pac-Man as well. Can we please just end the fight comfortably for once? Thank you, Pac-Man. His Body Slam crits right back, downing Persian and securing us a victory over Giovanni. This is like the third time Mommy has rejoined the team after someone else has died. I'm starting to get a bit suspicious. She could be pretty useful against Sabrina, however, due to her good special bulk, and we'll need all the help we can get because our options for checking psychic types are pretty limited. You'd think Closer could sweep Sabrina's entire team, but Yellow Legacy expanded the gym leader's roster of telekinetics by bestowing her with Mr. Mime and Hypno, both of which boast high special stats that not only give them enough bulk to survive at least one Nightshade, but also enough damage to knock out Closer before she can get the ball rolling for a sweep. Nightshade being only 60 BP is a real detriment here, and we don't have any better options for ghost type moves since Shadow Ball isn't introduced until Generation 2. That's why I'm instead turning to Pac-Man. Not only is he a specially bulky boy, but he also packs Amnesia, which boosts the user's special stat by 2 stages. The special attack portion of this boost is negligible in this instance. It's the special defense boost that will allow Pac-Man to run away with this fight. Sabrina leads off with an Abra that only knows Psychic, providing a fairly comfortable situation for Pac-Man to begin setting up. After maxing out his special with 3 Amnesias, Pac-Man puts on his PJs and takes a rest, restoring his health to full. Now we just gotta cross our fingers and hope Pac-Man wakes up before the damage is piled on. A tricky endeavor since 2 of the Psychics Abra dishes out while Pac-Man sleeps end up getting lucky special drops, cutting Pac-Man's +6 boost to only +4 by the time he finally awakens. Still, that's plenty enough to make the incoming psychic attacks tickle as Pac-Man slaps aside Abra and begins this fight for real. Now, originally, the plan here was to let Pac-Man spam Body Slam, praying for one-shots or paralysis with the understanding that our big fella would have to stomach a few hits due to his subpar speed. But instead, Pac-Man outruns all of Hypno, Mr. Mime, Kadabra, and Alakazam, obliterating each of them with a single Body Slam and sweeping Sabrina all on his own. How? No, I legitimately have no clue how he did this. Pac-Man the Snorlax entered this battle with a whopping 52 base speed, 10 speed EVs, and 3,380 speed EVs. In no universe should he be able to outspeed an Alakazam. Even the calculations I did during the fight agree. If you have any idea how Pac-Man managed to blaze past an Alakazam, please tell me in the comments, because the only explanation I currently have is that he and the rest of this team are using occult magic to make deals with the dead to keep this run alive, and we can't have that. that, the only superhuman, otherworldly entity we worship in this household wears number 23 for the LA Lakers. Anyway, I think it's time we shook up the team a bit with some brand new members. I've been ignoring a lot of encounters since around the 4th gym because, again, I don't like catching Pokemon. However, our numerous losses have opened up some pretty alarming holes in our team, such as our current lack of an answer for Lorelei. Sorry mommy, you don't count because half of Lorelei's team is also water type. That's why I took a bit of a break from the main journey and spent some time snagging encounters I've put off. Here's everyone I caught during this time. I will not be showing that list again, because the only one that matters is Starfy the Staryu, whom I can immediately evolve into Starmie, and who immediately establishes himself as the new head honcho of our team, because ladies and gentlemen, Starmie is broken in this game. Like, disgustingly broken. He's fast, he's got Psychic, and with just that and Surf as his damaging moves, Starfy can single-handedly turn yet another drab checkerboard dungeon in the Pokemon Mansion into a complete joke. Then he can strut his way into Blaine's gym and outrun everything in his way. Every gym trainer swept. Blaine, no biggie. 1 Surf each for Ponyta and Magmar, 2 Surfs each for Charizard, Ninetales, and Arcanine. Just like that, Starfy made this only the 2nd gym we fought this entire challenge that didn't involve catastrophic end-of-fight meltdowns or unexplainable devil magic. To say Starfy's addition fundamentally changed the dynamic of this run would be a gross understatement. From this point on, we worship the Sea Star as our guiding light, but LeBron is still my sunshine. With 7 gym badges in hand, all that remains is the 8th. And look who awaits us, the same man who ripped away not 1 but 2 innocent lives from us this run. However, unlike before, we're entering the fight against Giovanni with a new guiding force. Starfy the Starmie is here to lead us to salvation. He washes away Dugtrio and Nidoqueen with a single Surf each, then survives Persian's Hyper Beam to take it down as well. Nidoking drops, Rhydon drops, but Starfy, just like Cream, he rises to the top. That's all 8 gym badges earned, with the final one gifted to us by a hero who came from the heavens. No, seriously, the actual Starfy canonically lives in the clouds. Alright, we need to now address the electric type shaped hole in our team. We're gonna need someone to counter Lorelei and check our rivals Dodrio and Cloyster later on, and since Minion and Jake are dead, that means the next electric type up is none other than Bill the Magnemite. Remember him? I caught him around the 3rd gym. He's evolved into Magneton just in time for a battle against our rival on Route 22. Bill leads off against Firo, and his entire job will be to clip the bird's wings with Thunderbolt. But he can't even do that, getting outsped by Firo and crit by Double Edge to hit the dirt before he could even muster a single hit. This might be the saddest death in the channel's history. With Bill out of the picture, the task of handling Firo falls upon TMI TYH's shoulders. Things initially look dicey when Firo crits with Double Edge again, but Ice Beam downs the problematic bird for good. As if to taunt me, my rival sends out his own Magneton next, which is a sign that Nijika should enter the fray. She shrugs off Tri-Attack on the switch in, but unfortunately gets burned, causing her Earthquake to miss out on the one-shot. Though after tanking another Tri-Attack, Nijika can secure the KO the following turn. In comes Golduck, who was supposed to be countered by Bill, but is now Charlie's problem. Fortunately, Stab Hydro Pump from Golduck barely makes a mark on Charlie, and he fires back with a powerful Psychic to... Oh, we were right there, man! It's fine though, because Charlie can take on an Ice Beam, then finish what he started without further hassle. Eager to keep stealing my mojo, my rival brings in his own Alakazam against mine. I switch to Pac-Man, who comes in pretty easily since Alakazam clicks Tri-Attack, an action comparable to throwing. Alakazam must have heard what I said though and got pissed because it proceeds to land a critical hit Psychic the following turn, leaving a sizable dent in Pac-Man's health. Though not as sizable as the concave dent in Alakazam's head after Pac-Man sits on it with a singular body slam. And I'm pleased to finally say that the rest of this fight went swimmingly, because although Starfy came in on a critical hit Earthquake from Marowak, he had no trouble cleaning up that thing, and Flareon for the win. No longer will cardiac-inducing end-of-fight scenarios define this team. This special squad of 6 will henceforth be known far and wide as Kanto's most efficient killers. Even the juiced-up trainers in Victory Road are no match for them, as we blaze a path all the way to the Indigo Plateau, where our final challenge awaits. But before we begin our final conquest, let's take a quick rundown of who will be joining us in this ultimate siege. Nijika the Nidoqueen has been here since the beginning, providing veteran savvy and reliable ground type damage. She supplemented her earthly excellence with some new moves, courtesy of the TMs available for purchase at the Pokemon League Mart, and she's now poised to crush her foes like a handful of Doritos. If Charlie the Alakazam got $1 for every Pokemon he obliterated with Psychic this run, he'd probably have enough to buy Mario Kart World in Canada. Anyway, there's not much else to say about Charlie. I know he's great, you know he's great, so let's instead talk about how the world is gonna run out of helium in 15 to 20 years. Pac-Man the Snorlax defied logic to overcome Sabrina's psychics, and now he's here to Hyper Beam, Earthquake, Body Slam, or rest his way to victory. He's basically our only reliable answer to our rivals Alakazam, so please don't die before then, Pac-Man. Closer has made 0 relief appearances this run. However, she's more than earned her bread in off-screen trainer fights, so I trust her to be ready for when her number is called during the upcoming gauntlet. Starfy the Starmie is our Lord and Savior, our glorious salvation, and our guiding light. Our days of fumbling end-of-fight scenarios have been a thing of the past ever since he graced this team with his illustrious presence. And with his newly learned coverage moves, our supreme superstar is ready to counter basically every Elite Four member, if His Majesty is willing. And for our final team member, Machine, please generate a speedy Gen 1 electric type Pokemon. Yeah, that'll do. I captured Starlo the Electrode from the power plant mere moments ago, and now she's being given the important task of handling Lorelei. Unfortunately, Electrode still suffers from a pretty shallow move pool even in Yellow Legacy and does not learn Thunder Wave by level up. Since I already used the T-Wave TM on Charlie, this means Starlo's gotta rock with Explosion as her 4th move. Hopefully I don't accidentally click it, especially since it's in the first move slot, and you can't change the order of moves in Gen 1. That's the team of 6 looking to capture the Pokemon League crown. The level cap for this final stretch is 65, matching our rivals Flareon. Usually I use the level of the 4th Elite Four member's Ace as our endgame level cap, but like Yellow Legacy sets the limit for rare candy levels at 65, so blame the game, not the player. Not now, Lorelei, can't you see I'm reeling in the big one? I'm sure Minion, Jake, and Bill will be proud of Starlo in this fight, because our spherical Starlet proves her worth by destroying Slowbro, Cloyster, and Dugong with 1 crit Thunderbolt each, absolutely annihilating Jinx with a crit Thunder, and shrugging off Lapras's Blizzard to shock it into oblivion as well. Thank you, Starlo, for sweeping Lorelei and validating our need for a speedy electric type that I would not shut up about this entire run. Okay, so I had a bunch of jokes prepared here for Bruno, Agatha, and Lance, but I actually just swept all of them. Starfy destroyed Bruno, Charlie outsped and one-shot everything on Agatha's team without needing to crit once, and then Starfy circled the block to take down Lance as well. This was an exceedingly easy Elite Four, and I don't see a point in wasting any more time with them. We did surpass the earlier members in terms of levels, but overall, it was mostly just our team being faster and having so many coverage moves that it made things simple. But let's see if that holds true against our final challenge in this run, the Pokemon League champion, Dum Dum. Nijika kicks things off by quaking the earth and rendering Magneton deceased. The dastardly Dodrio comes out next, but Nijika simply zaps the bird with a single Thunderbolt. No crit necessary. With her work complete, Nijika tags out for Pac-Man, but unfortunately for us, Alakazam sets up a Reflect to fortify its physical bulk. It then fires off a Thunder Wave, which paralyzes Pac-Man, and full paralysis ensures Alakazam remains at full health for now. Psychic only does 1/4 of Pac-Man's health, but an unlucky special drop means a crit could spell the end for our rotund friend. Fortunately, Pac-Man finally connects with an attack, but barely misses out on the kill. Not willing to risk a crit or further paralysis shenanigans, I bring in Charlie for the mirror match. And again, Alakazam punishes our switch, this time by restoring some health with Recover. Charlie and Alakazam spend the following turn trading Thunder Waves like business cards, but Charlie crits with Psychic to nearly seal the deal. Bummer, but Alakazam gets fully paralyzed, allowing Charlie to ignore his own paralysis again and close out this drawn out exchange. Sandslash holds 2 swords in its hands and dances like a creep, but that just gives Starfy free entry into the battle, which he capitalizes on by drowning Sandslash, then electrocuting Cloyster until it's fully cooked. All that remains then is our rival's Flareon, who we could destroy with a single Surf here, but instead I asked Starfy to whittle down his opponent low enough for someone else to deal the killing blow. Someone whose job it is to end the game swiftly and efficiently. Closer winds up and throws out a Nightshade, making the save and securing us ultimate victory. This Hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Yellow Legacy is officially in the books. And would you look at that, Professor Oak is here to congratulate us. You're right, Oak. This team has grown a lot since our journey began. From a group of misfits incapable of ending fights smoothly to dusting off the Elite Four with ease, they truly have come into their own, and we ought to celebrate both their efforts and the lives of those who couldn't be with us right now. Well, that's all I got for now. Let me know if I should give the other legacy ROM hacks a shot. Thanks to all the channel members for their continued support, and also remember to do the like, subscribe, all that stuff. Until then, please enjoy every single minion meme I made that I didn't end up using in the video. Until now.